And we are joined now by Mirit Hoffman, the spokeswoman of Mothers for Combat Soldiers organizations. Mirit, can you talk us through the nature of this organization and your personal story of involvement there?
Sure. First of all, I'd like to start with your, if you don't mind, with condolences to the families of the soldiers that had fallen and sending a refuah shlema to those who are injured. Unfortunately, we're getting hearing of that every single day. We're called Imahot Lochamim, which is the mothers of combat soldiers who are fighting on the front lines, whether it's up north or in the Gaza Strip. We are very proud of our soldiers. We're very proud of our children and of our loved ones who have left basically their families and their homes in order to protect this country. And I also would like to state, before I get into exactly what we do, is that since the press doesn't give them enough credit, we wanted to say here that we fully support the IDF. We're very proud of the IDF and all their efforts. We send state our enormous gratitude and thank you. Due to them, we're able to actually sit here in front of you and have this conversation. We're also supportive of the government in its continuing war against Hamas, ISIS, to eradicate them, because we don't have any choice. And now coming to what we do. So as I explained, we're the mothers of Israeli combat soldiers, and our message is very simple. What we want to do is to make sure that the lives of our Israeli soldiers are prioritized over the enemy civilians. We understand that a war is a dangerous thing. We understand that the soldiers are fighting in the front lines and that they are risking their lives. And we accept that. But what we will not accept is for them to be put in harm's way for any other reason, such as in order to protect the lives of the enemy civilians. Okay, the enemy civilians, that is the job of Hamas. Hamas is known to use them as protective shields, and that's not our job. So what does that mean from where we stand? So there's a few things. Regarding Air Force, we'd like to see more Air Force protecting the combat soldiers. At the beginning of this war, there were a lot more airplanes in the air. There was a lot more backup from the Air Force, and that resulted in a lot less casualties on the ground. And unfortunately, due to the pressure from the U.S., we see that that is not the case right now. There's a lot less, and unfortunately, there's a lot more casualties. And we'd like that to get we'd like that to stop. We'd like to have more Air Force in the air. That's one thing. The second thing is to do with humanitarian aid. It's basically a joke. The humanitarian aid is being hijacked by Hamas. It's a known fact. It's not getting to the to the civilians living in Gaza, who's there. That's where it's intended to go. And the means that is basically fueling Hamas. It's giving them more power, which is endangering the lives of our soldiers and prolonging this war. And by the way, I checked regarding the humanitarian aid. I'm just going to read it out here. Relief is supposed to be provided as an impartial manner and without adverse distinction. That means that Hamas is supposed to allow the International Red Cross to visit the people that they had horribly taken as hostage since October 7th to make sure that they have humanitarian aid and the medication that they so much need, and that hasn't happened as of yet. So humanitarian should stop. It's endangering the lives of our soldiers. The other thing is regarding the statement that was given by Gallant, the Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, when he had a statement with the U.S. Secretary Lloyd Austin regarding the return of the Gaza civilians into the northern of Gaza. That, again, is going to endanger the lives of our soldiers, and we object to that. The Hamas is known, again, to embed themselves within the civilian territories. They're going to use, again, the civilians as human shields. It's going to make the lives of our soldiers, it's going to make it very difficult for them, to be able to distinguish between terrorists and the civilians, and that again is going to endanger their lives, and therefore we completely object to that idea. They will be able able to start thinking about when they're going to be returned, when all our hostages are returned, when the Israeli civilians are going to be able to go back to Otef Aza and up north, then we can start discussing them going back. At the moment, they're going to endanger the lives of our soldiers, and therefore we object to that. The soldiers need to be working on and concentrating on their mission, which is to eliminate Hamas, and the civilians going to be in their way is just going to endanger their lives. And the last thing I want to discuss is regarding time. We want to make sure that the IDF has all the time it needs in order to be able to eliminate Hamas. This is not a short war, unfortunately. This is going to take time, and we want to make sure there's no pressure coming from any outside forces like the U.S. to give us a time limit here on this.
Well, thank you very much, Mirit, for the message for the government and for the backing to the soldiers that right now need the moral support and the knowledge that the home has their backs in this conflict.